Hey, thank you all for. All right. So let me introduce to you a special agent in charge of FBI Atlanta, Chris Hacker. Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Hey, thank you all for being here today. I appreciate your interest in this operation. First, I'd like to introduce the people who will be speaking here today, and I'll start off with our interim police chief, Rodney Bryant, and our United States Attorney, Mr. B.J. Pack for the Northern District of Georgia. We wouldn't be here today if it weren't for the other men standing behind us, the leaders of these organizations. And I want to, in no specific order, but I want to introduce the agencies who are all part of this operation and have made it a success to date. The Drug Enforcement Administration, Homeland Security Investigation, ATF, United States Secret Service, GBI, and of course, the United States Attorney's Office in the Atlanta Police Department. In mid-August, the leaders that stand here today met with Chief Bryant to develop a comprehensive strategy to address the rise in violent crime here in the city of Atlanta. That culminated in an operation that we have called Operation Phoenix. And to keep it simple, Operation Phoenix is nothing more than a sustained, systematic, and coordinated law enforcement effort between federal, state, and local law enforcement to address the rising violent crime here in the city. In 10 short weeks after we started Operation Phoenix, we identified about a dozen individuals who we believe to be some of the most significant violent crime offenders in the city. We jointly investigated those individuals and brought the results to Mr. Pack, whose office brought federal charges against many of these individuals. We believe this initiative will slow the violence, and we also believe it should serve as a strong deterrent for anyone in the city who's contemplating participating in any violent crime activities. The bottom line is there are going to be consequences for committing violent crimes in Atlanta, and where we believe that it's necessary and warranted, we will do everything in our power to bring federal charges to the United States Attorney's Office to seek penalties at the federal level. So I would like to take just one quick moment and recognize the leadership of Interim Chief Rodney Bryant. Without the Chief's initiative and his ability to build partnerships and strong coalitions, we wouldn't be here. The Chief's vision for this initiative was clear to us from the beginning. And Chief, I'd like to thank you for all that you've done to bring this team together. But most importantly, we would all like to thank and recognize the men and women of the Atlanta Police Department who go out every day and put themselves in harm's way to protect all the citizens of Atlanta. Also, for our federal partners and state partners here, I'd like for the public to know that we've always enjoyed a strong relationship and partnership with the City of Atlanta and the Police Department. And today's announcement is simply just a show of the continuation of our joint efforts to keep the people of Atlanta safe. Very important is today's announcement isn't the conclusion of Operation Phoenix. It's quite the opposite. This is the beginning. This is simply the beginning, and this is phase one. So what I would anticipate is that this team will continue to work together, and we're going to identify the most violent criminal offenders, and we're going to bring those cases to the United States Attorney's Office to seek federal prosecution. So in the coming days, weeks, and months, you should anticipate more charges like you're going to hear today. To discuss those federal charges and to bring context from the United States Attorney's perspective and provide additional comments, I'd like to turn the briefing over to our United States Attorney, Mr. B.J. Pack.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Chief Bryant, for having us and hosting us here. Again, my name is B.J. Pack. I'm the United States Attorney for the Northern District of Georgia, and by virtue of that position, I am the Chief Federal Law Enforcement Officer of this district. The Northern District comprises 46 counties, the northern part of Georgia, which includes, of course, Fulton County and the city of Atlanta. Since I took office in October 17, my top priority was to reduce violent crime all across the district. We've seen actually an uptick in the prior years from about 15 to 16. After a multi-decade historic decline of crime and violent crime, this was very concerning. Through significant investment of resources from the federal law enforcement agencies, including the Department of Justice, in working closely with our state and local partners, we're able to turn the tide and make significant changes in declines in violent crime. Let me give you some statistics. from October 17 to mid-2020, our office, along with our federal partners, have identified, by using data and intelligence, 228 offenders that were responsible for driving up violent crime in our communities. Out of those offenders, we have brought federal charges against 212 offenders so far. 85% of those offenders had a Georgia criminal history. They, in aggregate, accumulated 5,600 different Georgia charges, including 1,200 violent crime and firearm offenses. They had over 2,100 arrests in 72 counties, resulting in 1,500 state convictions, and they were still out and about. Currently, out of those 228, we have obtained convictions for 92 of them, and the rest are awaiting trial. 81 of the 92 received a federal imprisonment sentence of at least 5.5 years, and 24 of those receiving an average imprisonment sentence of 9 years. And our data research partner has estimated that by taking out these individuals, violent offenders, we have prevented or avoided 2,300 new crimes that would have been committed by these individuals on the conservative end, in a more aggressive estimate, and up to 5,100 different crimes if these offenders were to keep offending at the rate that they were going the entirety of their sentence. And we were able to achieve this result despite lack of cooperation of one major district attorney locally. Just to put it in perspective, 88% of those prosecuted by my office were from the metro Atlanta area, and crimes are committed in the city of Atlanta and around Atlanta. Criminals do not know jurisdictional boundaries, nor do they care. However, reducing violent crime in the city of Atlanta is very, very important for us. We were having very positive trend until the COVID situation, including the civil unrest situation. Added to that, the turned up rhetoric against police officers, and in certain premature prosecutorial decisions related to charging of police officers have significantly and negatively impacted our peace officers who are there every day protecting us. The men and women of APD, I heard that their morale is low and their resources have been stretched very thin, which resulted in decreased response times and overall decrease in enforcement in our communities, and in turn by leaving a vacuum. So there's really no surprise when the city's murder rate significantly exceeded the previous years and the violent crime rates are increasing. Because this is exactly what happens when one puts politics over people, prioritizing getting the next job over the current one, and pander to a group instead of holding true to the most important principles, despite its unpopularity. In spite this, I know that the men and women of law enforcement, especially the Atlanta Police Department, are dedicated to upholding the rule of law and to protect this city. Our authority as law enforcement to enforce the law comes from the people. Thus, our primary focus must be to protect the people. I'm proud to support the Atlanta Police Department and the federal law enforcement partners standing here with us and recommitting and reinforcing all of their efforts to combat violent crime that is creeping up in this city. With our joint efforts, I have confidence, as data has shown, that we will once again curb the increasing violent crime in the city. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Rodney Bryan, and on behalf
Boy, you look like an unmasked Ninja Turtle.
I use Lubriderm, the cream.
Yeah.
of Mayor Keisha Lance Bottom, I would like to thank you all for covering this press conference, as well as my partners,
Yo need a headband.
both federally and state, in assisting us in combating this significant issue and concern that we have. How did we get here? We began to see crime start to increase in May of this year, which coincided with the opening of the city as it relates to people suffering from the stresses of COVID-19. And as those numbers began to spike, as we entered upon civil unrest, we saw this
I swear this done to tell her little brother.
Greatest numbers of homicides in our city. We had more homicides in the month of July than we had in most previous years. As my team and I got together to work and come up with ideas and solutions to figure out how do we resolve it and why this was occurring, there was a resilient group of men and women in our intelligence unit who provided the resources to continue to protect the men and women of this city. As they brought me down to give me some ideas of what we were seeing as it relates to violent crime, they showed me a network of individuals that they believed were truly committed to continuing violence and thought that they were having a significant impact on the crime that we were.
A network. Like they was running together? Cat.
We're seeing inside the city. Immediately looking at this work, this vast work that they had delivered to the command staff, I recognized that we needed to bring in partnerships. And so immediately I called Chris Hacker over at the FBI, who I worked with prior to my retirement and had always had a strong partnership with, and asked for his assistance. And immediately we developed an idea to broaden the perspective of partnership, and we thought that this would really have a significant impact on what we were trying to accomplish. So I'd really like to thank Chris for his leadership, his continued support with the Atlanta Police Department in helping develop this organization and this operation, which I think will play significant dividends in securing this city. And so immediately after we developed the Operation Phoenix, the numbers started to save off as we started to make arrests of some of these individuals. There's no specific area in the city of Atlanta that these individuals did not touch. There was no specific crime other than their violence that they didn't, there was no level of crime that they did not have an impact on. This included gang affiliation, drug sales, and violent crimes alike. What we have begun to see, and what we is those numbers, those types of violent crime have started to diminish. And again, this is with the strong partnership with all the men and women that are here before me. Additionally, we thought that it was important to continue to broaden our partnerships with many of these federal operations. So one of the things that we have done was to continue to broaden that by partnering with all of them in a very analytical space so that we can provide each other more resources and bring more individuals to bear to fight crime in this city. Our partnership with the FBI connect the City of Atlanta and the department to enhance investigative skills to likes that we have not had before. We'll be able to disrupt drug sales and see declines as it goes throughout this city. Additionally, we have the ability to locate and apprehend violent offenders more quickly and move to certain cases to our federal prosecution. I want to assure the citizens of Atlanta that we are working to keep you safe. The men and women of the Atlanta Police Department are dedicated to protecting and serving the citizens of this city. This partnership gives us an additional layer of advanced resources to find and assess the targets of criminals, elements, and no place in our city is safe for you. Thank you. I'm sorry. I forgot. I thought I was going to have to hand it off. Any questions I'll open it up for questions. Is that where I'm supposed to go?
Chief,
Thanks.
What is the advantage in your view
Fumble.
to, you explained the partnership
Whoa.
and the big advantage of that, but charging them with the federal crimes and going that route as opposed to doing it on the local level?
Well, one of the things is we recognize that bringing in partners, again, it gave us resources that we just didn't have, and it allowed us to be able to get violent offenders off of the streets much quicker, because there has been a lag in some of our local courts due to COVID. And so we thought that this was more effective. We wanted an immediate remedy to get individuals off of the street.
And what were the criteria when I know you guys said you came up with some way to identify the different offenders? What were some of the things that helped you identify these individuals?
These individuals were repeat violent offenders, that there was some nexus with them and violence. And we deemed them to be
They stay making a nexus between something. They reaching.
responsible for some of the most violent crimes in the city of Atlanta. This included gang affiliation as well as gun trafficking and so.
Chief, I think you used the term network and the individuals. Could you go a little beyond that? Could you say this was like a team, or people would come in so were three affiliated and then another three affiliated, or?
What we recognize is that the individuals had some type of partnership or nexus to each other. So they may be two different gangs fighting with each other or hanging out in a.
He trying to say they connected, baby. All right, y'all. They just spent this on a different road now. All right, the goal is to see how these people connected. He just put it together. He said there's some type of connection, y'all. He said it is a nexus between these people in real life. Look at this range of people, y'all. Y'all, I need y'all to tell me in the comments. Give me the link, y'all. What's this? How these people connected, y'all? I ain't gonna lie, I don't know about that.
Same area, but there was.
I see one link. These two guys, but besides that, I don't know none of them other bulls. Say less.
Always some level of connectivity from one individual to the next. Not necessarily in partnership, but some level. Either they got into it with each other or they were fighting over the same territory, things of that nature.
The common denominator being gangs.
Being violence.
Okay.
So all of the offenders, some of the offenders had ties to gangs, but not all.
That's correct.
Okay, but all are violent criminals.
That's correct.
You and Attorney Pack mentioned the date around the time we saw these crimes starting to rise. Can I get
Which means Woody shouldn't be on the street.
both of you to talk about that and DJ also?
Just to let you know.
Politics and attitudes toward police.
Well, and I look at it from a different perspective. I looked at it at the time of where we started to see crime increase. This violent crime began to increase on us, and it was during the time that the weather started to get a little bit better. People had been inside the house a little longer. The city had businesses begin to open up, and so there was aspects of social gatherings and ad hoc social gatherings that contributed to these types of crimes. So it coincided with people gathering up around street racing. We had a shooting during that time as well.
Oh, that's weird. They talking about that now. They don't want people meeting up because it's dangerous. That's crazy.
And so that's when we started to see it. And July was really the pinnacle of those crimes. That we saw the most 24 homicides in that month. And so it was immediately that I thought that we really needed to have this level of partnership and resources to bring to bear to address the type of crimes that we were seeing.
Chief, do you have any?
Yo, that ain't that many. If you do 24 in a month times 10 plus another 12, that's only 300. Baltimore do more than that. We do 300 and up. So Atlanta got more people than us. That's crazy.
Concerns about any violence?
I could be wrong, though.
With the election week coming up?
Well, again, I work with the men and women that you see behind me continuously having conversation as we address that. There's no verified threat at this particular time,
Whoa.
but we have everyone here who was committed to looking into that. But right now, there's no verified. I have not been provided any verified threat as it relates to the election. But we are prepared for it.
A threat to the election? What?
Anything in particular to prepare for
That was
election
weird.
day and the possibility of something popping off?
Absolutely. So again, working with all the partners that you see here, we'll open up this job as well as they'll be operating their emergency centers as well. We'll stay in communication and make sure that we have the resources in place to respond to any type of incidences for that day.
BJ, could you talk a little bit more about,
The spike in crime, one of the things you have to realize is I think the judiciary had to kind of balance the safety of the people who were potentially being pre-detained before trial. So there was a more likelihood of someone getting bond, right, despite whatever they're charged with. So that gives them another opportunity to go commit crime. So it created a dangerous situation. The other thing is, in the midst of legitimate protests, when people are out protesting issues, which, you know, First Amendment, that's great, but there are individuals who take that opportunity to commit crimes. They're masked, and they know that the APD and law enforcement are stretched thin because there's various things going on. And they see what's happening with some decisions made with respect to how the police, even though they're doing their job, have their back against the wall. That's an opportunity for them. And that's why you saw some of the spike in activity in some of the violent crimes. These days, unfortunately, every time you read the paper or read the news, we see some kind of a shooting and someone dying, right? We haven't seen that in years. The reason being is the law enforcement were supported.
Cap.
Prosecutors and the federal agents were out there, you know, prosecuting folks and putting them, the violent criminals, into prison. COVID situation, unfortunately, had to relax those rules. So we had to be more vigilant about that. And that's why we saw a little bit of spike. And this has happened in almost every major city. And it's not just the city of Atlanta that's happened. The common theme is the adjustment that we had to make because of the COVID situation and what's going on with the civil unrest.
Were any of these, one last question, were any of these people already in custody, like, doing some sort of operation from inside jail? And are you guys worried because of their connections, they will continue to operate their criminal enterprise from inside the facilities?
So if I heard your question correct, were any of these individuals already arrested?
Or like, I don't know, because, let's say, you know, a lot of people when they go to jail, they have connections still. So were any of them sort of doing their operations from?
No, the individuals we targeted, these individuals were out on the street. And so that's how we were able to address them because they were out on the street committing a level of violence. And as far as are we concerned that they will continue, as much as they continue, this operation will continue. We will not tolerate that level of violence in our city.
If I may, to follow up on the question you asked, why is the federal government bringing charges against these individuals? There are a couple advantages of the federal system. The first, as Chief Bryant said, right now the state judicial system is at a standstill right now because of the COVID situation. Number two, the volume of cases that the judiciary has to deal with right now is very high. Unlike the state system, the federal court system has allowed us to continue our grand jury. Matter of fact, because of that, my office have charged more people in this fiscal year 2020 than we've done in the years past. The additional thing is that in the federal system, we don't have paroles.
Whoa, Joe said because the local court system is backed up, the Fed's been coming in giving dudes cases just to help out. Wow, that's crazy to go Fed just because the state was backed up. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if that sounds like what he just said. Ugh.
So we have definitive sentencing in terms of truth and sentencing.
Nice watch.
So someone gets, let's say, 10 years in prison. They're going to do 8.5 because 1.5 you get for good time credit. The other thing is in the federal system.
So you get 5, you do 4.25. But how you get 110 to 137 months buffs down to 5 years? That's a little bit odd, ain't it?
because of our firearm laws and the way our bond system and bail reform works, that we have a more certainty of detaining them pretrial, get them out of the community to prevent them from committing crimes again. The last thing, and related to gang issue, is once they are convicted and sent to federal prison, we have prisons, the federal government has prisons all over the country. We take them out of that community so they're not out here committing those crimes from the prisons and the visitors and things like that. It makes it very, very hard. We pluck them, put them in another prison out of state, much, much harder to continue their criminal activity. So there are advantages.
Yo, why Woody didn't tell us what state and what prison he was in? Y'all heard him say that yet? What Fed prison he was in? Normally you'll hear somebody say, bro, I was in such and such, such and such. I think it's kind of fishy when we hear dudes say they come back from the feds and they be out talking and they don't say where they was at. I ain't gonna lie, I'm gonna keep it real. In most interviews with dudes from the feds, they gonna say, not in a bragging part, not in a bragging way, but just to let you know because it's different reasons why I tell you. To give you a temperature of why I tell you where I'm at, because if you, certain prisons is a level. So by telling you the prison, I can just jump. I can tell you, you know, exactly what type of vibes it was. You feel me? So that's one reason. Number two reason, well, another reason is the distance. So somebody might tell you, yo, I'm from Atlanta. Somebody to give you, yo, they sent me all the way out such and such in such and such. You feel me? So like, it's weird if y'all ain't heard him say that yet.
Just to do that. Now, the state system and the state laws, there are some areas that they have advantages. And this is why it's very important for us to work very closely with the state law enforcement and state prosecutors. Like I said before, unfortunately, in Fulton County and the state of Atlanta, we haven't had that level of cooperation we need to really tackle violent crime. But my understanding is we may have a new person taking over, and we look forward to collaborating with them to combat the violent crime that we're facing in the city.
SIC Hacker, had you, I don't know if this was sort of mentioned, but it kind of goes, I think, the bogus question. Have you seen these people in the system before? Are these people the FBI might have targeted before or had on the radar at some point?
Yeah, I don't recall what our engagement was with them. I think it's safe to say from an intelligence standpoint, we were aware of some of their behavior, and we've shared that intelligence with the police department in order to come up with this group of people that we.
It ended right there, y'all. I don't know why, but it ended. Who want to know more about it? Who want to know how is Woody on the streets? I want to know more. They saying these dudes connected. He said that. How? Got some research to do, huh? We got to do research. Take a screenshot of these names. Hold on, let me get it right. I mean, you gotta look on Pacer. I don't got no current Pacer account, so I'm gonna have to make a back door. Because allegedly it's federal. But I mean, we might need to check state too. Just to see their jacket. To see, you might be able to see the connection through state charges. The one we do know is him, but I think I already looked at his other charges, to be honest. I might have to go back and check. I know Woody jacket, funny. I'm going to keep it real. Like, to even be on this list, his jacket don't add up because he don't got no violent charges. Like, he don't really got charges that say he should be on this list. That's the weird thing about him. He was in the feds. So how could their investigation say he was one of the most violent people and he just got back out on the street at this time? Straight up. How can you be most violent? You coming off of 4.5. And you listed once you got sentenced, your time got cut in half because you were a victim. I swear to God. In his federal paperwork, not only did he cooperate, Holmes was a victim. That's why his time got cut. I swear to God. It say that in Woody federal paperwork, 2015. He got charged with 2 yestles and got let go and got charged with stolen property. Got let go for the attempted murders on the people that tried to take his life. So the feds let him go for shooting back, essentially. So in a kind of way, they gave him a slap on the wrist for all of the shit he's been doing and just charged him with the yestles and stealing and gave him the 60 months instead of 110 to 137. But they gonna turn around in 2020 and charge and say he one of the most violent criminals in the city? Hold on. His jacket don't say that, though. I'm just keeping it real. His jacket don't say that. He got a whole bunch of gun possessions, whole bunch of, I think he might got a robbery and stuff like that, theft, stuff like this, bro. But technically, like, how in 2020 is he making a list of top? But yeah. Salute y'all. I'm about to do research on this right here. If you want help, take the screenshot, man. You know the email. ebanfilms@yahoo. Salute to everybody in here. Salute for the super chat. Straight up. I'll be back later on the second channel, man. I'm about to do some research, man. Let me go in the cut in the archive. Turn your notifications on if they not. If you new around here, subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment. Let us know where you from. You already. I appreciate y'all pulling up, man. Have a nice rest of y'all evening. I'll be back later on the second channel, man. Straight up. Pay attention. I appreciate y'all. If you got some info, send it to my email, baby. I appreciate it already.